A girl named Maggie Vogel, against her father's advice, ran away from the farm to the city, which she deeply regretted. Because the city was under curfew due to an outbreak of a virus that turns people into zombies. Much of the planet is already infected. Transformation into a zombie doesn't happen immediately, but over some time. Maggie was bitten and infected, after which she was captured by the military and placed in a hospital. A man named Wade Vogel spent several weeks searching for his daughter. As soon as he learns of the incident, he immediately comes to the hospital. The doctor tells him that Maggie has a serious bite, but they are ready to let her go home for a while, especially since the father has a doctor friend named Vern who arranged this with the local doctors. They know a lot about this disease, but no one yet knows how to cure patients. The quarantine period for his daughter is 8 weeks, and during this time, he needs to say goodbye to her. Finally, Wade meets his daughter and embraces her. On the way home, he stops at a gas station, where in search of the attendant, he encounters a zombie that attacks him. The man kills the infected, then orders his daughter to get back in the car, after which they continue on their way. Wade brought Maggie home, where they were greeted by her stepmother named Carolyn, as well as her younger stepsister Molly and stepbrother Bobby. For the safety of the children, they decided to send them to their aunts while the situation with Maggie was resolved. Before leaving, Bobby went to talk to his sister. He told her that many of his schoolmates had been infected and they didn't deserve to die, just as she didn't. The boy expressed how much he missed her and hoped that she would be all right. The next day, while Caroline listened to the news about the infected, Maggie was calmly swinging on a swing. Suddenly, the girl fell and suffered a serious injury. Seeing black blood, she grabbed a knife, cut off her finger, and then ran into the woods, where she encountered the infected. Her father followed her and saw a sick man named Nathan and his daughter Julia. When Wade realized that they were no longer human, he had to kill them. Maggie couldn't bear to watch and ran home. In the evening, a sheriff named Ray arrived with his partner to learn more about the incident. He explained that Bonnie, Julia's mother, had hidden them at home and told no one that her husband and daughter were infected. She was supposed to take them to quarantine, but now it was too late, and Bonnie herself had disappeared. The sheriff informed that the bodies would be taken away in the morning, and before leaving, he reminded Wade about Maggie. The father firmly stated that he would fight for his daughter until the end and would not give her up to anyone. Then Wade told Caroline that before he killed Nathan and Julia, he noticed something in their eyes. It seemed like they understood what was happening. For a moment, he wondered if what he had done was right, but his wife supported him, saying that they were no longer human. That night, Bonnie arrived at the farm. She explained that after Julia got infected, Nathan locked himself in a room with his daughter and never opened the door again. Bonnie asked to be shown where Wade had killed them. The man took her to the forest and for a moment thought she wanted to shoot him, but the woman simply bent over the bodies and began to cry. The next day, the police came, took Bonnie away, and posted an infected sign on Wade's house. In the morning, Wade and Maggie went to the doctor. He examined her bite and the severed finger. The doctor reported that Maggie's asthma had passed, her lungs were clear, and her heartbeat was very strong. This was a good sign. While Maggie was being bandaged, the doctor told Wade that he had 3 options. The first option was to take Maggie to quarantine. However, knowing how the infected were treated there, Wade immediately refused. The second option was to take the medications provided in quarantine, but there were rumors that they caused unbearable pain. The third option was to kill her when the time came. Wade decided to spend as much time as possible with Maggie during her final days, and they started talking a lot. At dinner, they joked about Caroline, and in the evening, while Wade worked on the car, he told his daughter about how he met her mother, who had passed away. She was smart, beautiful, and loved reading, always encouraging him to read as much as possible. She faced every blow from fate with double force, and Maggie inherited many of her good qualities. At night, the girl was tormented by nightmares. She noticed that the skin around the bite had started to rot, and the disease was progressing rapidly. The next day, Maggie's friend named Ellie came to visit and invited her to a party. At first, Maggie refused, but when she found out that a boy named Trent, who was also infected, would be there, she agreed. Before leaving, Carolyn gave Maggie her mother's necklace, which she had found and repaired. The girl thanked her and went to rest. At the party, one of the guys named Mason condemned Bonnie for not telling the authorities about her daughter and husband's infection. Trent responded that Bonnie had no choice. She didn't want them taken to quarantine. According to his uncle, who worked there, Everyone who was sent there faced a gruesome death. Trent explained that in quarantine, people were thrown into a common pit where they began to devour each other. He said it was better just to shoot oneself and claimed that he was supposedly ready to do so. Later, Trent told Maggie how exactly he got infected. One day he drank his father's beer, after which he was punished and sent to work in the field with his sister, who was already infected. Suddenly, his sister felt ill, and when Trent was distracted by a call from his father, she bit him. He said he saw regret in her eyes, but apparently she couldn't help herself. Then his father came running and shot the girl. After this horrifying story, Maggie apologized to Trent for their past relationship, and then they started kissing. In the morning, the girl returned home and said goodbye to Ellie, who realized that she might never see her friend again. Maggie's eyes began to lose color, and her sense of smell intensified. She now smelled meat, which made Caroline start to worry for her life. After some time, Trent calls Maggie and asks her to come to his house. When the girl arrives, she learns that the boy has locked himself in a room and refuses to come out because the police are supposed to arrive and take him to quarantine. Maggie tries to encourage him, but soon the police appear, break into the room, and forcefully take Trent away, while his father just stands aside and watches, hoping that his son will receive help there. On her way home, Maggie hears a strange sound from the forest. She goes deeper and finds a fox caught in a trap. Suddenly, an unbearable thirst for blood overcomes her, and in a panic, she returns home with blood around her mouth. Wade tries to bring her to her senses, but Caroline explains that it's time to send Maggie to quarantine. The father goes into the forest to finish off the wounded animal, and when he returns home, Caroline informs him that she is leaving to be with the children. She cannot stay here because Wade refuses to give up his daughter, and she fears for her life. At night, Wade notices Maggie standing in the doorway, silently watching him. The next day, the sheriff arrives and asks to see Maggie to make sure she hasn't lost her mind yet. Wade refuses, and then Ray's partner loses his patience trying to detain him. A fight breaks out between them, but at that moment, Maggie appears and assures the officers that she is all right. Convinced that she is still human, the police leave, making it clear to Wade that they will return soon and that he needs to make a decision. Then the father takes his daughter into the forest and shows her the garden of her mother, which he continues to tend. Maggie cries and confesses that she is tired. She asks her father to kill her, and he with a heavy heart agrees. At night, a familiar doctor arrives and gives Wade medicine, while warning that it would be far more humane to end Maggie's suffering with a weapon. Meanwhile, the girl says goodbye to her brother, sister, and her friends. When Wade returns home, he finds that Maggie has almost completely transformed. He calms her, tucks her into bed, and then takes the shotgun, sadly looking at the photos of his daughter. Later, Maggie comes downstairs and sees that her father is supposedly sleeping, though he hasn't closed his eyes. She tenderly kisses him, and then, weary and almost fully transformed, she leaves the house. Maggie climbs onto the roof, looks up at the sky, and jumps down. In the last moment before her death, she remembers playing among the flowers with her mother, trying to forever preserve these memories in her soul. This is where the film ends.